As all of the regular viewers of my channel already know, a few months back I purchased an off-road electric adventure bike, a Chinese dual-motor 6,000-watt off-road biking beast. So now when I'm not out driving my very manly Jeep through fences and ecologically sensitive areas, I'm out riding my new e-bike through protected animal habitats instead. And for those occasions that I don't go biking alone, I need a way to stay in contact with my biking co-conspirator so that we can chit-chat along the way, and so that when we get separated and one of us crashes or whatever, we can call each other for moral support. For a while, I was using a walkie-talkie expedition radio, and even though this is super rugged and works great, it has one fatal flaw, and that flaw is that to use it, you have to use your hand and at least one opposable thumb to transmit. And when I'm off-road adventure biking over rough roads, rocks, trees, or through desert tortoise nests, it's difficult to grab the radio with one hand and try not to crash the bike with the other. So after crashing multiple times, I began to crave a two-way radio that was smaller, lighter, and that I could talk on whilst keeping both hands safely on the handlebars. So I used my own monies and bought these new radios from Midland, the ClipTalk micro radios. These cost about $110 of monies for a set of two, affiliate link below, and these are way cheaper than some of the two-way radios and communication systems that are made specifically for bikes and motorcycles. I already did a full review of these radios a few weeks ago, so this video is for if you already have a set of these radios, or if you're planning to purchase a set and you just want to know the best way to configure them. But first, just a quick recap for those that are slow. These are FRS radios, meaning that you do not need any license to use them, and anyone, including children, can use them. They are compatible with and can talk to all other brand FRS radios and all GMRS radios, and as you can see, they are extremely small and very lightweight. And as for the range, they give more than enough farz to stay in contact whilst adventure biking, and the best part is that you do not need to use any hands to use them. This part goes in your earlobe, and it actually stays in and has never fallen out of my ear, and since it doesn't actually push inside of your delicate ear hole, it's actually quite comfortable. You just clip this part onto your backpack strap or your shirt within 6 to 8 inches of your mouth hole and anywhere that it's not flapping around while you ride your bike. When I first started using these radios, they did not work very well, and it took me some trial and error to get the settings dialed in to where they now work almost perfectly, and they have now totally replaced the handheld walkie-talkies that we used to use. I still keep the walkie-talkies in my backpack as a backup, but we now use these 100% of the time when I go biking with my adventure bike co-conspirator. And even though these are the best solution that I've found for e-bike communications, they're not perfect. Like all radios using voice-operated hands-free or Vox, there is a small delay from the time you start talking until the time it actually starts transmitting. So if you just start talking, your first 1 or 2 words will be cut off. So to work around that, just always start your sentence with a key phrase like, "Hey Midland," or "I'm transmitting." That will give the radio enough time to start transmitting without cutting off the first part of your sentence. This is actually mentioned in the user manual, but since everybody just throws those away into the trash, I feel that it was important to bring this up. Sometimes the voice-operated transmitting, or Vox, as us radio experts refer to it, opens and transmits if it's really windy, and then it just starts transmitting wind noise for a few seconds. So to help with that, I got these little stick-on Merkins made for GoPros. They cut out almost all the wind noise so that not only do we sound better, but it cuts down on the radio's transmitting because of the wind. They come with a little peel-off sticky tape, and they stick on right over the microphone, thusly. These cost like $12 for a little baggie of 10, and I will put an affiliate link to these in the more information section if you want to check them out. Anyway, these are the settings that I use for the near-perfect hands-free adventure biking experience. First of all, you will need to decide what channel to use. These radios have 22 channels, but I always use a channel between 1 and 14. And that is because high-power GMRS radios transmit on channels 15 through 22, and they can create a lot of interference on these radios, so I just use channel 3. But any channel between 1 and 14 would be just as good. For the rest, you'll need to use the Midland app made for these radios, which is free, and you don't need to create an account or give them your email address or anything like that. Just download it to your phone and use it. So just connect to the radio and get back to the settings page. By the way, me and my bike buddy rode in the desert for 4 hours a couple of days ago using these radios, and the battery is down only 1 bar, as you can see. Anyway, the very first thing to do is to set the Roger beep setting, which is actually very important. Be sure to set that to on. When the Roger beep is enabled, not only will whoever you're talking to know when you've stopped transmitting, but it also lets you know when your radio stops transmitting. The next is the noise reduction, or ANC, or automatic noise cancellation, as us radio experts refer to it. This not only cuts down on wind noise so your friend can hear what you're saying, but it helps prevent the radio from transmitting whenever it hears the wind. I set it to on, but if the radios start sounding funny or muffled, you can turn that one off. Next is busy channel lockout. If this is enabled, it will prevent you from transmitting at the same time as your friend. So if you start to transmit while he's already transmitting, it will just beep at you. So I keep that set to on. The next setting is voice activation, or Vox, as us radio experts refer to it. And this is the most important setting. And it was also the most confuculating setting for me to get set correctly. First of all, make sure that it's enabled. And the sensitivity level is what makes the radio decide when to start transmitting when you talk. And if you set it wrong, it will either be transmitting all the time or it won't transmit at all. So after much trial and error, I have set mine to 3. That's maximum, 3 out of 3, and now it works near perfectly. If I set it any lower, it doesn't transmit at all, unless I'm screaming. The next setting is the squelch. This lets me hear my biking buddy even if he's far away, but it still blocks static. And to reduce static even more, and so that we don't have to listen to anyone else that happens to be using the same channel we're on, I added what Midland calls a privacy code on both radios. To do that, you have to go into edit the settings for the Pacific channel you're using by tapping on channel group, and then edit it by tapping there and there. And as you can see that for channels 1, 2, and 3, I've added a code. Doesn't really matter what codes you use, so I just picked C001, which is the first one on the list when you tap on it. And adding this code makes it so that we only hear other radios using this same code. So even if there's someone off in the distance using the same channel, we won't hear them because chances are they aren't using any codes. And even if they are using any codes on their radio, they'd have to be using the same one that we're using. And that never happens. And I should point out that even though these are called privacy codes or privacy tones, they are not private. And that is because all other radios that aren't using any codes, which is most radios, because most people don't use codes or tones, those radios can still hear us talking. We won't hear them, but they can hear us. I know that it's all very confliculating, but the point here is that this is just a way to prevent us from hearing them, but it does not necessarily prevent them from hearing us. I also had to set the backup walkie-talkies that we carry with us to the same channel and add the same transmit and receive codes. Otherwise, if I tried calling my buddy from my backup radio, he wouldn't hear me. And that is it. With the radios set this way, you can enjoy a near-perfect adventure biking radio communications solution.